Yo, sakafetla. My name is Sebastian and welcome if it's your first time here. So there are no secrets that debt is a big issue in the US. The Federal Reserve Bank of New York issued its quarterly report on household debt and credit, which shows that the total household debt increased to 14.3 trillion in the first quarter of 2020, which is ridiculously high. It's also no secret that having a large amount of debt will keep you from getting ahead financially. So if you're trying to build up your savings or you're trying to invest for the future, that debt will keep dragging you down and keep you from reaching your goals. Now, I said that many times in my videos before. So if you're trying to plan for retirement or you want to reach financial independence, one of the first things you need to do is to start creating a plan to get rid of debt, especially high interest consumer debt. So how do you do that? Well, I'm gonna talk about two different easy to understand methods that I stole from listening to Dave Ramsey called the debt avalanche and the debt snowball. Also, if you like this video, make sure you like it just to let YouTube know that this video is valuable. Let's get into it. Now, the first thing you need to do is to find out how much you owe on all the different debts you have, not including a mortgage. So if you have credit card debt, car loans, student loans, medical bills, or any sort of personal loan, you need to find out how much you owe on each one of them and how much interest you're paying for each one. I know finding out how much you owe is not always easy, but it is necessary to know your starting point and to start taking action. I mean, no matter how bad you think it is, there is light at the end of the tunnel if you could be disciplined and if you can apply one of these methods consistently. Now, we'll assume that you already have a budget, you already cut back on unnecessary spending, and you have an emergency fund. So at this point, you know exactly how much money you have left over that could go towards paying your debt. So say it's $500. So what that means is that after paying all your bills and after paying all the minimum on all your debt, then you have $500 extra that is left over that could go towards aggressively paying down your overall debt. So let's first talk about the debt avalanche. With the debt avalanche method, after paying the minimum on all your debt, that extra $500 would go towards paying the one with the highest interest. Once that one is paid off, then that $500 plus the minimum that you were paying on that debt will go towards paying the next highest interest one. So let me give you an example to show you how that works. So say your debts were as follow. So credit cards, you owe $2,000, the interest is 20%, and the minimum payment is $50. Car loans, you owe $15,000, interest is 5%, and the minimum payment is $350. Student loans, you owe $20,000, the interest is 6%, and the minimum payment is $200. And then other loans could be any other loans that you have. You owe $1,000, the interest is 3%, and the minimum payment is $25. So after paying all the minimum payments, the extra $500 will go towards the credit card debt because it charges the highest interest. You keep doing that until the balance goes to zero. Then the extra $500 plus the $50 minimum you were paying for the credit card, totaling $550, will go towards the next highest interest debt, which is the student loans. When that goes to zero, you will tag the car loan by paying an extra $550 plus $200, which is $750, and so on. It's important to mention that if you're trying to get out of debt, you'll have to stop taking on new debt. So you want to keep paying it down to have it go down like this over time. So you don't want to start going down and you take on new debt. You pay it down and you take on new debt and not really go anywhere. So the idea behind the debt avalanche is that by paying the highest interest debt first, you end up paying less interest over time. So those interests are being compounded on a regular basis, and the more they compound, the more you end up paying. And some of those credit cards compound daily, so the sooner you could get rid of them, the less interest accumulates and the sooner you could get rid of all your debt, if you're able to stay consistent. Now, what is the debt snowball method? Well, in a debt snowball, instead of paying the highest interest debt first, you pay the debt with the lowest balance. When that balance goes to zero, then you attack the next one with the lowest balance. So let's use the same example as before and show you how that works. Again, after paying all the minimum payments on all the debts, the extra $500 will go towards the other loan. You don't care what interest is charging, you just go for the one with the lowest balance. Once that one is paid off, the $500 plus the $25 minimum goes towards the next lowest, which is the credit card. Once that balance goes to zero, 500 plus 50 gives you 575, will go towards the car loan and so on. Now, mathematically, it would make sense to use the debt avalanche because you end up paying less interest and you end up paying the debt faster over time. But if it was just as simple as a math problem, people wouldn't just pay the minimum on their credit cards. They wouldn't continue to spend money they don't have when they're living paycheck to paycheck. They wouldn't want to invest in the stock market to make 10% interest when they have a debt that they're paying 15 to 25% interest on. So as Dave Ramsey puts it, the problem with your money is not the math problem, it's the person in the mirror. By going after the debt with the smallest balance first and paying it off completely, you get a greater sense of achievement that may help you continue paying down your debt versus chipping away at even larger debt that feels never ending and overwhelming. In the end, the debt avalanche makes the most sense in terms of dollar save in the long run, but the debt snowball plays better to our humanity and our desire to see that we're winning at something we've been putting so much effort into. You also don't have to stick to one particular method. So you could get going with the debt avalanche and get those small wins to help motivate you. But once you realize you're capable of that kind of discipline, then you could switch to the debt avalanche and then maybe save yourself some interest in the long term. Paying off debt is not easy at all, especially when month after month, year after year, you don't get anything tangible back. But if you have a plan and you're disciplined, you're focused and you're consistent, then sooner or later you could get out of debt. I mean, you have to make some sacrifices, but getting in the habit of better managing your money and being debt-free is totally worth it. Your future self will thank you. So that's all I got for today. If you think this video was helpful, make sure you like it and subscribe if you haven't already. And don't forget to share this video with a family or friend you think might be interested in that type of content. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Peace.